Hey guys, Asher coming at you today, Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Hopefully it finds you all doing well out there. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there. Oh, I took my son to an amusement park over the weekend, and it was really fun, but it was pouring rain and lightning, and let me tell you, he was so worked up about lightning, being struck by lightning, right? I couldn't calm him down. I couldn't calm my son down, and for about an hour and a half, he was just crying, so worried we were going to get struck by lightning, right? He did eventually calm down, and we were fine, obviously. But, you know, on the ride home, I was started to worry about like work stuff, whatever, you know, and I started to think to myself, am I doing another adult version of what my 6-year-old is doing, right? Worrying about something that's very unlikely to happen. As human beings, I feel like we have a tendency to our minds, at least if you're anything like me, they just start envisioning the worst case scenario almost all the time. I'm a worrywart, man. I like to think it's strategic. I like to think about things and think about possible solutions that might happen in the future, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I tend to dwell too much on the worst case scenario when in reality, you know, it's very unlikely that the worst case scenario happens. It's good to be aware of these things, but at the same time, it's not worth stressing over in the here and the now. Otherwise, you're always going to be stressed. You're always going to be worried about some worst case scenario. Anyway, I didn't mean to take a whole 90 seconds on that. Today, we have the dungeon cheat codes in Raid Shadow Legends, right? These are going to be my personal favorite champion overall for every dungeon in the game. I'm going to give a few different rarities as well, depending on where you are in your account. Obviously, you're not going to have all these champions. So let's go ahead and start with Dragon's Lair. So Dragon's Lair is all about the poisons, all about the cleansing as well. There's a lot of great dragon champions, but I think my favorite is probably going to be like a Theodore. Theodore could probably be on an honorable mention or the best guy in several dungeons, including, you know, Ice Golem as well. He's just so freaking good. He's got the AoE decreased speed, which is nice. He's got the poisons. He's got the poison sensitivity and the increased speed. And then he has the activation, not just of poisons, but also of HP burn, which is why he's really the jack of all trades. He also brings a weaken if they're not under poison and HP burn. He's so good. He's placing both and he's activating both. And he's tanky defense base. It's so cool that he has the increased speed. The dude is just insane. However, I do think it's kind of a two-way bout here with a guy by the name of Staltus. Staltus is so insanely good for Dragon's Lair that I think I might even give it to him. Whenever an enemy attempts to place a weakened, decreased defense, or a poison debuff on this champion, it reflects them back onto the attacker. So really, the build isn't super important, right? He just can stand there and reflect back the poisons onto the dragon, provided he has enough accuracy. That's it, man. That passive is absolutely busted. There's a few other champions that bear mentioning that are kind of in the same category, like Yumeko. She can place a Hex, and then she can deflect the debuffs on whoever targets her with Hex, so another way to get a lot of poisons back to the dragon. Heck, even Jingwan has a, is it the A1? Attacks one enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. So all the poisons on Jingwan will go back to the dragon, okay? Who's a couple other rarities that are my favorite dragon champions? Really anybody who has a lot of poisons, like a Battle Khazar, for example. However, sometimes Battle Khazar can kind of keep your team alive too long if you're trying to die and let somebody, a Combustor or Activator, solo. I digress. I think probably my favorite epic in the game for Dragon's Lair, and I don't think it's close. I just did a video on him yesterday, so it's no surprise, but it's Dark Hail. Dark Hail is just, he's built different. We said it 10 times in that video. He's got the instant activation of the poisons and the burns on his A1. Moreover, he's bringing decreased attack and a poison ×3 and a poison sensitivity, man. Exceptionally good, specifically for Clan Boss because of that passive as well, and for the dragon. And then for a rare, I'm gonna give it to my girl Reliquary Tender because we really haven't talked about viable cleansers. She's by far and away the best rare cleanser in the game, with a full cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown and a continuous heal. And hey, if somebody dies, she also has the call to life single target revival. It's not a great one, but it's a revive at the end of the day. So this is my favorite for Dragon's Lair. Let's move on to Ice Golem. So for Ice Golem hard difficulty, we're going to be looking for obviously HP burners and burn activators, obviously the Theodores of the world. You can use champions like, I don't know, a Seer could get an honorable mention in every dungeon for clearing those waves to get to the boss, obviously. But I think by far and away in this game, the best Ice Golem champion is, and it's not even super close, is Artak. This guy is super tanky, which is great because you can just, so you get him to the Ice Golem, especially if you have the emergency shield and like a blood shield ring on this guy. Forget about it, man. He's gonna stay alive. He's gonna place the burns, and he's going to instantly activate the burns. He also has an AoE decrease attack, again for damage mitigation, but this guy is just, he's insane. He's insane. He's my go-to. Heck, while I talk about the other 2 or 3 Ice Golems, I'll just show you him. Just insanity. I showed you in yesterday's video too, but maybe I'll show a couple of these runs along the video just to give you guys some entertainment here. This is not my main team, but whatever. Don't even have an aura. Let's talk about, well, we have Dark Hail on this team too, so you can see a little bit of Dark Hail. Vogoth. I think that Vogoth is really underrated in Ice Golem as a support champion, right? There's a lot of supports that are great. I love Miscreated Monster. He's an old school OG Night Revenant Halloween champion circa 2020, but I love a good Mausoleum Mage in there for some support, basically survivability. I think it comes down to Vogoth is my favorite support with the heals, right, on that passive. Very, very nice. I love Geomancer for obvious reasons. Geo could probably be on the list on every single dungeon, or at least most of them, but Geo's very good. And Dark Elhain. She's probably one of my favorite nukers for the Ice Golem because Dark Elhain, she has the instant activation of the Death's Majesty, her A2 ability, her big AoE nuke with a decreased speed every time one of your allies gets frozen. So you use her in like Frost Spider or in, you know, Ice Golem, and she's just gonna absolutely wreck everything. The thing with a Dark Elhain or even a Royal Guard, you know, again, very, very good in Ice Golem, very good in Fire Knight as well, is those champions, you just got to be careful because you do too much damage too quickly to the Ice Golem and have no way to keep your team alive. You will absolutely wipe. So here we go. It's a little Artak Dark Hail action here. Finishing things off, as I mentioned in yesterday's video though, I need more resistance on my Dark Hail because he's not going to be able to stay alive with hero reduction. But this is Artak. I mean, he's not ever even going to get low on HP with the emergency heal blessing. It's so busted on this dude, and it's far from one of my fastest runs, but he's got it covered, man. He's a solo machine. Who, if not Artak, who the heck would it be? Of course, there's a few mythicals out there, quite a few that are really good burners. Maybe like a Gizmak, you know, he could definitely be in contention too. He could, you know, probably do similar to what Artak can do, but Artak is just like, you know, first of all, he was fusion, so he's very accessible, and he just gets the job done, as you guys can see. And I feel like we're getting pretty bad RNG on this run. I don't know. We need Dark Hail alive so he can come through with those activations on the A1, right? So Artak, Vogoth, Miscreated, Geo, those are some of my favorites for the Ice Golem. Dark Elhain, who I want to show you her kit. She's going to be free for everybody as well. And again, I'm sure I can work on this team quite a bit here. Look at my best time with the same team, really, or close to, I can get Ghostborn out of there, is a 135, but it's really all on the heels of Artak. Need to get the resistance up on Dark Hail, and I can really improve that score. What about you guys? Who do you use? Who's your main carry? Walking Tombdrang is another really good one. He's got the burn, and he's got the burn activation. Sorry, I have some names like jotted down, but of course, as I'm recording here, I'm like, wait, I love Walking Tomb Dragon too, because his burn can't be resisted. Then he can activate it on his A1, and his A1, it doesn't require accuracy. It's super, super cool. Dark Elhain is going to be free for everybody. She's a day 120, maybe, the daily login reward. Don't quote me on that. But basically, this Death's Majesty, it's a hard-hitting ability. She is squishy. You got to keep her alive. Fills this champion's turn meter by 25% and instantly activates Death's Majesty whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze. Whenever she receives a freeze, she's going to remove it and buff herself instead. Oh, she's amazing. All right, Fire Knight time, guys. We spent way too long on Ice Golem here. Fire Knight! We're going to go ahead and start with the best Fire Knight champion in the game, whether we're talking hard, whether we're talking normal, but it's not even close. It's the Newt. Newt is so good for obvious reasons, right? He has turn meter control for Fire Knight normal on his A1. Very, very good. If they're not susceptible to turn meter decrease, he's going to place the freeze 100%. And you guys know that the freeze, and it happens on each hit, by the way, 100%. The freeze is going to act as a turn meter reducer for Fire Knight Hard, as you guys are aware. And he has the hardest hitting ability against bosses in the entire game. The best enemy max HP ability with a Blessed Bash. So yeah, I mean, and he brings counterattack too, you know? He's the god tier, the Artak of Fire Knight, so to speak, right? Very, very good, but I have a bunch of honorable mentions. I want to talk about a couple epics for Fire Knight, guys. And again, there's a lot, so I really want to hear from you guys who your faves are. I think that Fenshi is incredibly underrated when it comes to Fire Knight. A triple hitter with decreased speed. Decreased speed is very, very good on the Fire Knight because we want him to go slower so we have more time to chip away at the shield, obviously, right? And he has each hit a 40% chance. That's very, very dependable. It can be 45 on each hit if you pick up the Sniper Mastery. He has another triple hitter with decreased target's turn meter on each hit on a 2-turn cooldown. This guy's really insanely underrated, man. And then on 3-turn cooldown, he's bringing poisons in a hard-hitting killer's bile. I've seen some players just run the A1, A2, A1, A2, and shut off the A3 against the Fire Knight. He's really, really good. A bit niche, but exceptional for the Fire Knight. For Fire Knight Hard, Cryoed the Blue, man. This guy, he was like the beginning of Sylvan Watcher power creep for epics, at least in my opinion. Increased speed on all allies and a turn meter filled by 15% on a 3-turn cooldown. Little apothecary action there on his A3 ability. He has turn meter fill every time a freeze is placed by himself. He has a 2-time hitter. Each on a 3-turn cooldown, each hit has a 65% chance of placing a freeze when booked. Super dependable, very good against waves, very good, obviously on 2 hits with freeze to reduce the turn meter of Fire Knight Hard. What's even better is he also has each hit on a triple hitter again on the A1. We want those triple hitters or those quad hitters. Each hit is going to have a 35% chance of placing a freeze for more turn meter control. Cryoed is very good. Cryoed, obviously we got to mention our girl, man. I would be very, very remiss for not mentioning Cold Heart. She's still one of the best out there. A quad hitter with heal reduction, both very important for the Fire Knight, and then a very hard-hitting Heart Seeker ability, decreasing turn meter for Fire Knight normal dungeon. She's one of the best out there used in hard. She's by far and away the most used rare for Fire Knight hard teams. Fire Knight Hard 10, my first team that I cleared Fire Knight Hard 10 was using a Cold Heart, maybe even 2. For Fire Knight normal, I still think Allure is absolutely amazing. Great control, one of the best control A1s for Fire Knight. It's a triple hitter and it's decreasing the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So we can get, it's a triple hitter, obviously. It's 3 times at random. There's only one boss, right? So we can get the 3 hits on the shield, and when the shield's down, we can keep it down vis-a-vis that excellent turn meter control. Just make sure you build her with 100% crit rate. So those are some of my favorites, guys. There's a lot more, obviously. Lady Mikage could probably be selected in every dungeon. I love her in Fire Knight because she has one of the best ally attacks in the game. All 4 allies will be joining her on the ally attack. She does have only a single target hitter, but if you put her with another Shadowkin ally on the same team, they're going to be joining in the attack. So her A1, If you're running a double hitter or a triple hitter alongside of her, maybe like a Fenshi, right? You're going to be getting 4 hits off of her A1 if he's the other Shadowkin champion on the team. A really lethal combo for Fire Knight having both of them on your team. All right, let's move on to Spider. I think the best Spider hard 10 champion, listen, let's be real, man. There's a billion burn and burn activators, but I'm going to mention the girl that I still use, Sissia Flametongue. She's still my favorite personally. She can place the burn and she can also activate the burn. Very good. She can also debuff. She has a weaken and a conditional decreased defense. So she really brings a lot to the table, including a ton of damage. Placing burns, activating burns, and an extra turn mechanic if that burn is placed on all enemies. She's still one of my faves, but of course, I feel like the enemy max HP strategy, even in hard, is definitely in vogue right now. So Newt would obviously be, he could be a contender in every category. He's arguably the best champion in the entire game, but Acrisia is still exceptionally good against Spider. She can kill not just the Spider and do a lot of damage with her A1 and her A3 ability, both enemy max HP abilities, but with her battlefield domination, right? You can kill all those Spiderlings, provided you're not using a burn strategy, or you can use a hybrid if you want to, but an enemy max HP AoE ×2 on a 3-turn cooldown. Obviously, one of the best out there. Let's give a shout to a couple of my favorite. Obviously, a Husk. I prefer Royal Guard and Spider as an enemy max HP champion. Cold Heart, Armiger. We should give some love to good old Armiger. Cold Brew would want it, right? Armiger, man, he's still got it. He's got turn meter depletion, and he's got a hard-hitting late arrest. A defense enemy max HP is not going to hit as hard as some of the other enemy max HPs. I mean, for God's sakes, he's an uncommon champion, but it's on a 2-turn cooldown, right? So you can do it every other turn. But my favorite burners are going to be Mordecai. For a long time, my favorite epic burner was Mordecai in the game. He's got a nice decreased turn meter and a turn meter fill, and then he has the burn and an increased attack on all allies. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but it's still very, very good burner for an epic champion. But I think the best epic burner right now in the game, I said it before, is Skrank. I really like Skrank, namely because his burn is on a 3-turn cooldown, right, in AoE. He has turn meter fill built in, so you can really get back to his turn a lot faster, especially if you're, you know, not instantly activating and just ending the run in 10 seconds, depending on where you're on progression. But even with that withstanding, Skrank is void, right? So you can use him on any stage and not have to worry about affinities. So I really like Skrank. He is he's a goat. He's a goat burner for epic champions. All right, let's move on to, and again, I'm leaving a lot off the table here. There's a billion great champions in all these categories. All right, so for Sand Devil, guys, obviously we need a good sleep champion. I think overall, by the way, overall Sand Devil, my personal favorite is actually Ninja. I've used Ninja since day 1 of Sand Devil. He's just, to me, he's the most consistent and arguably the best damage dealer out there. There's a lot of different strategies you can use and a lot of champions you can use very similar to a Ninja. I used to use Walking Tomb Drang as well. I'm a big fan, obviously, of the Tomb Drang. But this Hail Burn, it's just, it's special. He's placing the burn and he's instantly activating the burn. You know, and then the Scion Slash will decrease the cooldown of Hail Burn skill by 1 turn when attacking a boss. So you can get right back to that Hail Burn even faster. To me, he's by far and away the best damage dealer for Sand Devil. What about you guys? Obviously, there's like triple Newt strategies that can just take him down in 2 seconds, but I think functionally Ninja's probably one of the best out there, and hey, everybody has him again, which is really cool. Who's your main damage dealer, guys, for Sand Devil? I'll give it to Ninja. Ninja and Godseeker and Neri teams, I mean, that was the strategy if you were lucky enough to have both those champions for so long. It still works, and I still think that Godseeker and Neri deserves a big mention when we talk about Sand Devil. Not everybody out there has 3 newts or 2 newts or even 1 at this point that they're able to really, you know, just parlay and combo for just massive enemy max HP damage after you put the Sand Devil to sleep. So Guardian Angel is still a very, very nice passive when you put it with Rise of Glory. Rise of Glory, it resets the skills, right? So White Queen has this ability too. She resets the cooldown of the skills on whoever she revives. But the cool thing is, as I knock over my drink, the cool thing is I get excited when I talk about Godseeker. She has the passive revival as well, right? So if she's in the lead, she can revive herself and then she can revive with Rise of Glory, reset the cooldown of Ninja's Hailburn, and you go until the Sand Devil wipes you out again, and you just keep rinsing and repeating, right? So absolutely amazing. We have to give a shout out to really still one of the most reliable sleep champions out there, and he's campaign farmable, and it's good old Muckstalker, you know? I mean, Muckstalker, it's super simple. 2-turn cooldown, sleep for 2 turns if a target has no active buffs, which is going to be the case with Sand Devil. So Muckstalker is still a champion that I see. He's nice and tanky too, 20k. His defense not so much, but his HP, he's got something to work with there. If you're just looking for a sleep champion, a reliable sleep champion for Sand Devil, look no further than a campaign farmable rare in Muckstalker. All right, it is time for Phantom Shogun Grove. This is a tough one to pick the best, right? They're all tough. But I mean, for a long time, for a year, I used the Gnarlhorn team, so I'm going to give it to a rare. I think that Gnarlhorn is the best. He might not be, you know, Rio Bonespear, who I think would be my legendary choice, but you can just build very accessible teams around Gnarlhorn because he's a great enfeeble tank, because of his A1. This attack cannot be strong, critical, or weak hit, right? So he's the best enfeeble tank in the game, I think. He also has Determine, which is unkillable on a 3-turn cooldown. It lasts for 2 turns. So I do think that Gnarlhorn, and heck, you know, outside of all of that, he's a great provoker for wave content. He's a rare that has a 3-turn provoke placed on all enemies. Very solid overall, Gnarlhorn. And what does he have? Defense in dungeons by 27%, man. He's an old school rare, but he's still got it. And to me, he's the best Shogun and Feeble tank out there in the game. I have whole videos out there on how to build a Gnarlhorn and Feeble tank team for Phantom Shogun Grove. If you guys want to go ahead and check those out, if you're curious as to how it all works. Okay, but I mentioned Rio. She's probably my personal favorite. One of the most criminally underrated Void legendaries, or just legendaries in the game. Not to say that people don't say she's good, but she just never appears at the top of lists to me, and I mentioned that before. But man, this Perfect Body is arguably one of the best support abilities out there in the game. It's got a great big heal. It's got block debuffs for 2 turns, and it's got a full cleanse, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Exceptionally good. So she's one of the best cleansers for Phantom Shogun Grove. But she also has like every debuff known to man on the A2. So you put just really, really good stuff there, right? Really good stuff. The HP burn, decreased defense, weaken, decreased attack, all in the same ability. When receiving any debuffs, instantly transfers them from this champion to the attacker, and then has healing on the A1 as well. Man, I really love Rio Bonespear. Can you tell? A couple others though, I have to give love to Mithrala. Man, I did a video last week, I want to say, and not too long ago, talking about who do you 6-star next. It's still the #1 question that I get here in the comments. Who should I 6-star next, Ash? Everything should be oriented to me. As long as you're not like, you know, first couple months playing or whatever, everything should be oriented to maximizing your Hydra Clan Boss teams, just so you can get your hands on Mithrala Lifebane, because she will open up and snowball the progression that you're able to make everywhere in the game, and that is certainly true in Phantom Shogun Grove. Again, she's a great cleanser. You know, she's a great buffer. She brings increased defense and increased attack and hex, and then she has that really nice A1 with the poisons there too, so she can be a very capable damage dealer against the Shogun as well. And I mean, she has a great passive, specifically in the arena and wave content, but a great passive nonetheless. Mithrala is one of my favorite Shogun champions. She also brings accuracy in all battles by 80. And then man, I've always been a big fan of Whisper specifically. She's just really nasty, especially obviously if you have High Awakening on her. She can just keep going and going and going and going, and then she's gone. She brings debuffs, she brings extra turns, and then with the Unrelenting passive, she can just keep going and going again. High Awakening, I absolutely love her there. Who else? Rio, Mithrala, Whisper. I'll show you my lazy pay-to-win Phantom Shogun Grove team. It's nothing special. I don't think it's even a team setup. I just threw all my faves into the same team, and I'm like, well, with double Newton and Ninja, I mean, how long could it take, right? This is the lazy man's strategy, which I do find myself been playing the mini account a little bit more lately, and I do find myself kind of enjoying a little bit of the, like having to think a little bit more and not just throw a double newt in here. We can definitely improve the time on this team. It feels like it's running slow too. As we do Iron Twins, because I think that Iron Twins is a little bit boring, I will show you my Fire Knight team just for the heck of it as well, just to keep the background moving here, keep it mixed up. So man, this is a really slow team. I shouldn't have even shown it. I need to really go in there and optimize this, but it feels like it's running super slow at the same time. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But there he is, the GOAT Ninja on the squad. All right, I'm gonna show you my Fire Knight team, but we're gonna talk about Iron Twins, okay? Iron Twins, I have the same sort of lazy strategy right now, but I used to use a Painkeeper team on Iron Twins. Basically the 3 Painkeeper Geomancer team. You guys know what I'm talking about there. If you don't, check it out. Again, I have a video, a pretty recent video that's just, it's the easiest, most pay-to-win strategy, provided that you have Geomancer on your team, right? And all you need is 1 block damage champion and 3 Painkeepers, right? It's one of my favorite squads. Let me run my Fire Knight. Hopefully the team's all geared up here. But my favorite Iron Twins, obviously, like I said, Painkeeper is fantastic, right? Geomancer, we just mentioned him. For Iron Twins, oof. Geo is still the GOAT. Iron Twins is a little bit easier. They did like the soft nerf to a few of the dungeons out there, but Geo is still like, just slap on some block damage on Geo and you're good to go. Speaking of block damage, my favorite block damage shout out is going to be, I mean, there's quite a few of them out there, obviously. Roshkar, there's Helikath, but Demitha, she's got on a 3-turn cooldown. She's an accessible-ish. She is void, but she is an epic champion. She adds some healing to the table as well with that A2 ability. I really am a big fan of Demitha. And then for a legendary for Iron Twins, I would say, just to switch it up a little bit, I would give a big shout out to Oella. Oella is a champion that I think she was a fusion years ago. I actually didn't go for her when she was a fusion, but she's really solid. She has a 100% decreased speed on her A1, and then she has great like turn meter fill and support and heals all over her kit. Let's see how we do here against the Fire Knight. Hopefully you don't mind this. This video is a little bit messy, right? Talking about different dungeons at different times. I'll end the video by showing you my, oh, I'm not sure if this is gonna work here. Okay, Seal of Magic. Oh, we going with the ally attack. So obviously Mikage is super crucial here because we need that turn meter reduction on Newt. And here we go, another ally attack. Newt goes in with a turn meter reduction, boom, lands it, and then Blessed Bash for the win. There it is. Ooh, that's nice. That's a sweet team right there. Now, really love this team. I get my best time with this same squad is 1:05, so can be a little bit faster as well. Let me end with my Iron Twins, guys. And as I do that, again, this is a lazy team, kind of like the Phantom Shogun Grove, but will hopefully be a little bit faster. We'll see. The double Newt, man, that's still the most valuable dupe you can have, maybe outside of your Mecha or something like that for Hydra Clan Boss, right? But it's just the Blessed Bash. I mean, look at it, guys. It's quite insane, right? Wait, did we just Seal of Magic before we use the second Newt Blessed Bash? Yeah, I really need to go in there. Can you tell I don't do a ton of Iron Twins? Shame on me. But guys, we're gonna end here. Let me know, did I not give a mention? Did I snub your favorite champion for any of these dungeons? Would love to hear from you guys because obviously, like I said, there's probably 20 or 30 different champions that I could give shout outs to as being one of the best or the best in all of these dungeons. Oh man, I needed one more, what's his face? One more Blessed Bash, but we've screwed up our speed tune somewhere along the way. That's the blessing and the curse. I'll leave you with this thought. The blessing and the curse of having champion presets is now I'm actually muling my gear around a lot more than I used to. I used to be lazy and just try to have a specific set for every champion, but now I'm actually using my presets. So now I can find myself without gear on some champions and speed tunes will be screwed up more often. Any of you guys experiencing that problem, erring from that awesome quality of life in the presets? Let me know, guys. This video has been way too long. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. And as always, take care, guys.